What is separation according to the Scriptures? That one is easy. There is a Bible word for this, which is based on the noun kara, which just means space. Adding iota zeta to that in a verb ending, we get the dictionary entry chorizo, where the iota zeta works just like ize in English to literally mean space size, which we would more naturally translate separate. That is the word that Jesus used when he said, "What God joins together, let not man be separating," in Matthew 19:6, Mark 10:9, and several times in 1 Corinthians 7. But it is a very general word, used with regard to separating any one thing from another, and not just with regard to a man or a woman. Now, with regard to separation of a man and a woman, the Bible knows nothing of the legal term used in the U.S. courts, for example. It is also not talking about physical separation. A man and a woman are, quote, one flesh, unquote, according to the Word of God, not according to how physically close they happen to be. The astronauts who walked the moon 238,900 miles from the women they married were as much, quote, one flesh with them there on the moon as they were in their beds with them back on earth in their homes. Now, 1 Corinthians 7 talks about the possibility of an unbeliever separating from someone they were married to. It uses that word, separate, not divorce, not unmarry. And let's be clear about this. It says unbeliever. A believer would not separate because a believer believes the Word of God. The problem with the unbeliever is that the unbeliever doesn't believe the Word of God, so the unbeliever has no regard for it. Isn't that simple? But this is why 1 Corinthians 7 says that the believer must not marry again, because separation doesn't nullify the Word of God. They are still one flesh. Only death, or else the second coming of Jesus, can legitimately end the bond of earthly marriage. That is a brutally simple concept as well. If a part of the flesh dies, it is no longer treated as a living part of the original flesh. It is cut off from the body. It's disposed of in an earthly, fleshly sense. Also, earthly marriage ends because it is an earthly thing that points to Christ and His bride. At the consummation of the wedding feast of the Lamb, Revelation 19:7 through 9, the old earthly things will pass away and become a thing of the past. Now notice again that Jesus says, "What God joins together, let not man be separating." Look what it doesn't say. It doesn't say, "What God joins together, let man not unjoin." Isn't that obvious? He could have said that, but he didn't. Also notice the verb tenses. Join is aorist tense, which describes a fact, not an action. Separate is present tense, which describes an action in the present. The God joins is fact. You can't change that. Let's look at another thing it doesn't say. It doesn't say, "Let man not unmarry." As I pointed out previously, marriage is an event, not what in modern times we call marital status. So you can't reverse the fact that the event happened. Let's look at another thing it doesn't say. Remember what I pointed out about Romans 7:2, the perfect word that could be used for divorce, if there was such a thing. It does not say, what God joins together, let not man release, abolish, nullify, or discard. So you see, all the things Jesus did not say, he doesn't say unjoin, or unmarry, or release, abolish, nullify. He said, do not be separating. Matthew 19:6 and Mark 10:8-9 are routinely nullified by all marriage divorce behavior. As I mentioned before, the established practice is for a marriage to be performed by a religious clergyman in a religious church ceremony, yet the divorce is always performed by a secular, in other words, godless judge in a secular, godless courtroom ceremony, without involving the religious clergyman. The hypocrisy of the scenario is lost on people to compartmentalize thinking. Why doesn't the married couple go back to the religious clergyman to seek a divorce in a church ceremony? And why isn't the religious clergyman seen to have any authority to bring dissolution to the marriage, yet the secular, i.e. godless, judge is seen as having the greater authority over the marriage?